Welcome to One Card, One Cub, and One Beer. We are in our last show of January of 2023, and that's very important because last week I announced that this was our third show of 2013. I'm getting old. My brain sometimes jumbles things up.
All the time, me too.
And I want to tell you something. The worst thing about editing these is I just like, oh gosh, I said that. Oh, I got this player wrong. Oh, I said the Giants when I met the Padres. So by the time I watch the finished product, I'm used to all my screw ups. But the first time going through when I'm editing, it's like really bad. And I could not believe I missed the whole decade. So maybe I wish I was still only 46.
Oh,
So,
well, yeah, don't we all?
But I do want to ask you to please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, contact us through one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com, and subscribe to our page by clicking on the icon at the bottom right. Those of you who are on Mac and or PC, if you're watching this on a different platform like a smart TV or something like that, just take a little time, go to your computer, find our page, and subscribe to it. Because seriously, the more subscribers we have, the more interaction we have, leave us comments, stuff like that, the more that this gets out there. And I do want to bring this up that last week JJ shared with me an online article, and I think it was the top 20 Cardinal related podcasts going on right now, and our friend of the show, Tom Cook, his podcast, Worst Fans of Baseball. I think there was like 9 or 10. Very good podcast. We were not on there. And I know
not yet. We're coming with a bullet, though.
Man, if you could help us get on there,
yes,
you make two guys jump like 3-year-old boys. So me and JJ would be up jumping on the bed at Burlow mattress. Yes, that's what we'll do. But yeah, so I was very happy that Tom made the list, but I hope by next year that we are making some headway. And I know that we are catering to Cardinal fans and Cub fans, but being we're coming out of St. Louis, I would say probably 85% of our viewers and listeners are coming out of Cardinal Nation. So I've been trying to expand, get us known in Chicago. I've done some advertising there in Chicago. We have picked up a few people, and I've had some good emails saying, hey, you guys are doing a great thing. There's a couple of podcasts out of Chicago where it's a Cub fan and a White Sox fan, and those aren't very nice. So one guy called me and said, I really appreciate it that you guys aren't fighting like the Cub fan and the White Sox fan on the other podcasts I listen to. So, but me and JJ, we don't fight on the air, but boy, after we go off the air, we go at each other. It's terrible. So. Also, please support us through Patreon. Go to patreon.com and you can search for One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer. Or you can just go to patreon.com/One Card, One Cup, One Beer, and you can find us there. Your support means a lot to us. That way we can expand some of the things that we want to do as far as advertising and getting our name out there, and maybe doing a few remotes and stuff like that in the future. JJ, how are you doing?
Doing great. We're right in the middle of our second snowfall of the winter, and we got kind of fooled that spring was around the corner. We were having that 60-degree weather, but all of a sudden Mother Nature turned its ugly head, and we've been hit with the snowfall.
We got a slush fall in Peevely.
You got a slush
about
fall?
an inch and a half of slush. That's it. It's ugly. It's gross. It gets the car dirty. Nothing fun. Like all my friends are posting on Facebook these winter wonderlands. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're in slush.
I work over in Farmington, and a lot of the area between was without power. Some of the lines were down, and so I was home today because my weekday job is in a lab, and we can't spin. If I draw blood, we can't put it in a centrifuge. We can't keep it. We can't refrigerate it. So I got to stay home today. So darn the luck. And I want to say something. We've got a lot of Cardinal and Cub fans, and we're down here in Southern Illinois and all over the Missouri area. But we've got our new contest going, and I had 2 people send guesses to me, and one was from Cincinnati, Ohio. Yes, we're spanning the globe here, and
Love the
one
ballpark in Cincinnati, by the way. Love the ballpark in Cincinnati.
I've been there one time to see the Cubs and the Reds. Baez hit a grand slam, and there was almost a fight when somebody hit Cepedis, who was on the Reds at the time. But it was a 4-1 game, and it was a great game. They really treat you good. I recommend going to a game there. We went and saw we took a tour of their Hall of Fame. By the way, Randy Macho Man Savage is in their baseball Hall of Fame. He was a minor leaguer, and he was born in Cincinnati. So if you go, they do it by decades, and they have like wax figures and Barry Larkin and Johnny Bench all the way back. It's pretty darn cool. Loved it.
Now, I've been there twice. In one game, me and Kathy are sitting in the left field bleachers, and gosh, who was playing left field at that time for the Reds? I think he went to the Mariners.
Like Jesse Winker?
Yeah, Winker's out in left field, okay? And he keeps reaching in his pocket. He's pulling out the defense strategy card, the outfielders carry now, see where I need to line up. These yahoos in front of us, they were like college age. They were swearing, he's pulling out an iPhone. Why is he watching? Finally, after about 3 innings, I said, it's a defensive alignment card he's pulling out. He's not pulling out his iPhone. They were, oh, okay.
Keeping up with the days of our lives or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It just struck me as kind of weird. And I'm not saying that the fans in Cincinnati are baseball ignorant, but what I am saying is I thought it was common sense that you wouldn't be pulling out an iPhone. You'd be looking at something that had to do with the game. But they were like, why's he watching things on his iPhone? Paid all this money to watch his iPhone. Anyway, go ahead.
We did have a player last year get a fined. He slid into third base. It was a Pittsburgh Pirate player, and his phone popped out of his back pocket. I don't know if you remember that last year.
Yes.
So that is becoming part of the game. I would recommend the players keep their phones in their lockers, but I don't know. It's up to each team individually. But he ended up getting fined for it. But Vince, go ahead.
Do you remember that Tim Raines used to slide head first because he would keep his cocaine in his back pocket?
Keep his cocaine, yes.
Yeah. Thankfully, he kicked the habit. He rehabbed, a Hall of Famer now. But yeah, he had a problem in the early '80s, and that's where that
a lot of players did. Because
you can't just keep your cocaine in the locker room.
No.
Geez, an attendant will steal it.
I got you keep it in your sock, but it could get kind of moist down there. I don't know. You gotta keep that cocaine dry. Remember that, kids. Keep your cocaine dry. Well, we also in our contest, we had somebody reach out to me from Patio Beach, Thailand. We had a listener watches it on YouTube, he said, in Patio Beach, Thailand, and they took a guess. So since I'm talking about the contest, I'm going to go ahead and I was going to save this for later. But we had a lot of people take guesses, and nobody got it right. Of course, it's very vague. The first clue is very vague, and each week we're going to get a little more precise with our hints. So I'm going to give the second hint now to everybody out there. Remember, it's a player of note that played from 1970 to 2022. It is either a Cardinal or a Cub, and in this case, it is a Chicago Cub player. The first week hint was it was a hitter, and week 2's hint is it's an infielder. So an infield hitter from the Chicago Cubs and played from 1970. I think I said the year wrong last time, didn't I? 1970 to 2022.
Okay. Technically, the pitcher is an infielder.
Yeah.
And up until this year, the pitcher did bat.
He did
so
bat,
it
but
could be Bill Bottom.
Man, no, not Bill Bottom. So you're already got it. And everyone who guessed last week knows the guesses they took, and it wasn't that player. So I'm not going to tell you some of the guesses. We had some great guesses, though. Players that I hadn't even thought about in a while. So anyway, you can email us, send us a message, and take a guess. And again, the prize this week, I don't have a backdrop on there, is the 8x10 signed Don Kessinger. Very nice. He played for both the Cubs and the Cardinals, and I will put a Chicago Cub Don Kessinger card in there with it, and we'll send that out to you, whoever wins it. So now we're into week 2 already.
Do you want to hear a trivia question about Don Kessinger?
Please, yes.
Don Kessinger is the last American leaguer to be a player manager.
Oh, very good. I think Pete Rose might be the last.
He was the last in the National League.
In the National League, yeah.
Yeah.
But very good.
Kessinger was player manager for the White Sox in 78, 79, somewhere around there. Right before La Russa.
Had a nice career. I always liked him. Very classy guy. Well, Cardinal news, we've got a ton. I don't even know where to start. And it started last night. The Hall of Fame had their induction last night. One player got in, and Scott Rowland. And that is kind of, yes, congratulations, Scott. I always thought he was a borderline. I always thought he was an incredible player, a superstar. As far as the Hall of Fame, I wasn't quite sure. I thought right there, just in or not. And I seen some of the defensive statistics. He's rated the 4th best defensive third baseman in the history of the game. And they say Brooks Robinson, Mike Schmidt, and Nolan Arenado, which I did not know he rated that high so quickly, but with all his gold gloves and platinum gloves, and then Scott Rowland. And offensively, he's like number 9 offensively in some hitting statistics. So Scott Rowland, I know he's played 17 years, 7 with the Phillies and 6 with the Cardinals, and then he played with the Reds and the Blue Jays as well. Have no idea what team he's going in as, which is fine. If he's a Cardinal, that would be great. If he goes in as a Philly, I understand. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, 8 Gold Gloves, 7 All-Star appearances, and it was his 6th year of eligibility. And I think he only made it by 5 votes. So it was even close for him. Yeah. So coming up this summer, Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland going in. I'm kind of excited about that.
And Pat Hughes.
Oh, that's right.
Correct. Yeah. So
congratulations. I think there's one other like administrative type going in as well. I think there's going to be 4 people going in this summer, which is really good.
I saw someone post on Facebook. There's a groundswell grassroots effort to try to get Dale Murphy in the Hall of Fame. And they were comparing Murphy's statistics with Rowland's statistics, and they're very similar offensively. Rowland's got about a 15-point higher batting average than Murphy. But the difference is, I think Murphy's a borderline Hall of Famer. I thought Rowland was a Hall of Famer because he was a superior defender. Dale Murphy won a couple of Gold Gloves in center field, but when you think of great center fielders, you think of great Atlanta center fielders, and Andrew Jones was a much better defender than Murphy because he was a much better defender than everybody. But those 7 Gold Gloves, and to watch him play third base so smooth and effortlessly, and to make the routine plays and the spectacular plays, that along with his very good offensive numbers is why I thought, okay, this guy should be in, and I'm very happy that he made it.
I heard Harold Reynolds last night on MLB Channel talking about he was one of the best players he ever seen running and barehand a ball and throw a guy out on the run.
Yeah.
I remember one of my best recollections is I try to appreciate what's going on in the here and now. And I remember maybe it was 2003. And I remember Rowland and Pujols was stretching. They were being stretched out before the game. And I just thought, man, what an honor to get to watch these guys play together for the next 10 years. Didn't quite happen like that, but that time period with Edmonds and Carpenter and Rowland and Pujols and Yachty, that was a fun time. That was a really good time, and just another chat. Well, yeah, well, not for everybody, but for the Cardinal fans, it was a good time. It was a good time, and he was a Philadelphia Philly, and I thought that's when I first heard of him. It was about his 5th year in the league, and I just thought he was going to spend his whole career over there, and he fell into our lap, and man, we were lucky to get him, and glad we did. But anyway, that's the first story going into this. Also, in the international draft, the Cardinals have picked up 17 players in the international draft, and these are all players from Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Mexico, Cuba, and the Bahamas. And honestly, I didn't know anything about these players. I'm trusting our scouts. It's a hit and miss thing. Sometimes you get somebody that's just played down there and is head and shoulders, but these are all young players. But one guy that caught my eye was Rainier Lopez, a right-handed pitcher. He's a righty, and he's 6'8", and he's 196 pounds. It kind of reminds me of Randy. Yeah, kind of reminds me of Renew. Yeah, if he throws sidearm, it's gonna be over there by third base by the time it comes in. And he's only 16 years old, and he's from Venezuela. So honestly, it might be years before we see, any of these players come up through our system. But I think it's a great chance for the Cardinals. You just never know. And a lot of these young players are so athletic. When you get them in an early age, you can try them out at different positions, whatever our weaknesses are. If we don't have a lot of shortstops down there, we can move some of these guys to shortstop. And you can't have enough pitching prospects. We know that. You can even trade them for established players. So that was kind of a big thing for the Cardinals. We also have announced, I know there was offers for the new broadcaster for the Cardinal television side. And I'm very happy. I know Bob Costas and Joe Buck were mentioned, but it's going to be Chip Carey, the grandson of the great Harry Carey, who was both a Cardinal and a Cub broadcaster. I love Chip Carey. I've heard him do games of the week, and he's from St. Louis. He went to Parkway West, went to school down in Georgia for broadcasting. He's been a broadcaster for the Mariners and for
the Cubs for a while.
That's right. Early in it, yes, the Cubs and the Atlanta Braves, I believe, over 20 years. And here he is coming back to St. Louis, and I'm excited. He's a classy guy, a lot of knowledge of the game, and of course, a third-generation broadcaster. So that's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to see him do his thing in St. Louis.
The Careys have had three generations, but they've all been so different. Harry was just the fan who couldn't pronounce Dane Org, along with any other player that had any kind of a strange name. And Harry was just a fan. He's, he'd tell you exactly what he thought. If the team sucked, he'd tell you the team sucks, say it on the air. Skip, his son, who did Atlanta Braves games, I don't know how else to put this, was the most boring play-by-play announcer I've ever heard.
Nice voice, though. He had a good voice, speaking voice, but you're right. He didn't have a lot of pizzazz.
No enthusiasm. There's a fly ball to left field, and
that's great.
It's out of here.
Great.
So, God rest his soul. And then Chip is that I guess modern broadcaster. She's been through the broadcast center, who's very polished as a professional broadcaster. But he's got a lot of his grandfather's personality. So he's a really good play-by-play man. And the pinnacle of, the most special moment in Harry Carey's career was the Cubs were playing the Braves, and he shared the booth with Skip and Chip for a few innings. And that was just wonderful. I couldn't imagine, sharing, being a broadcaster, and being my son and my grandson are both doing it, and then we're all in the same booth. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I'm glad Chip's coming to St. Louis.
I am too, and I'm looking forward to seeing him every night. I try to watch the game or watch it, tape it, and watch it later. But that's going to be great. I wish him well, and he reminds me a lot of Joe Buck. He's a smart guy, and he's fun, he's humorous, and he's got a great voice, and he's just done a job. He's paid his dues, so I'm glad he's here. Also, the World Baseball Classic is coming, and Wilson Contreras was going to play for Venezuela, but he announced at the winter warm-up that he's not going to play for the World Baseball Classic now. He's going to go to spring training and get to know the Cardinal pitching staff and get a head start on the season. And I like that kind of, yes, Yes, and I'm telling you what, when I heard that, he won me over. I was like, I'm already won over. I know what we're getting, but that extra, like, hey, we're gonna go down there, we're gonna work. I'm gonna be ready for the season. I think that's fantastic. So, another feather in Wilson Contreras' hat. Yeah, we're gonna start building that statue to him outside. And we were talking about just some things. I have some things I want to show you over here, Vince, to the collection. And first of all, I always have something new. I'm pretty proud of this. In 1964, they made these giant cards, and they're more like a postcard size. And on the back is a headline from a newspaper. And I love Brooks Robinson. Since Scott Rowland went in, there was a lot of talk about Brooks Robinson. And so that's the 64 Brooks Robinson card. And on the back, it has like I'm sorry, I have that upside down. It has like a headline. So I'm a huge Brooks Robinson fan, but this is the one I really want to show you. That's the regular one. This is the autographed one, and I got a letter of authenticity with it. And I just
Wow.
absolutely, yes, I absolutely loved it. I will say I did some trading and I got that, but I added that to it. And one of the fans of the show, I know you always act surprised when we have fans of the show, but they sent me something. Candy Barks, she listens to it with her two sons. So want to send a special shout out to her. She got me some bobbleheads. She found some bobbleheads. I got a Jim Edmonds in the car for opening day. Look at that. There's Jim. I think he might have Parkinson's. Calm down, Jim. And then Willie McGee in the car. How about that? There's old Willie. Got the Cardinal
Hey,
uniform
Willie.
on. Yeah, hey, Willie. And the Chris Carpenter sliding into in the playoff game against the Phillies, sliding into first base over there after he made that great play. So I got those. And since we were talking about Skip Carey, I got this out. One time, the next time we do a thing on collectibles, I'm going to do patches, different patches. I've got patches off all the uniforms and everything, but there was a commemorative patch that the Cubs wore after Harry passed, and I just wanted to show it to you. I've got that right there.
Oh, yeah, I
That,
remember that.
you remember that? I think that's so cool. I've got a Harry Carey bobblehead where he's sitting at the desk, KMOX, and if you kind of turn the microphone, he calls I believe it's Stan Musial 3000th hit. So it's an actual game thing he did. And really, I believe the last thing I was going to touch on is the great Sal Bando uh, passed away this past week. And I kind of want to do a little talk on Sal Bando because a lot of young people don't even know who Sal Bando was. When I first became a fan, it was 1974, and the Oakland A's were on their third straight World Series. And I mean, since then we've only had the New York Yankees win 3 World Series in a row, and that Oakland A's team was stacked. I know you look at the Oakland A's now, and they're sort of sometimes they get a run and they just miss the playoffs or just get in and get knocked out in the first round. But at one time, the Oakland A's were a very good team. They started out in Kansas City, and Sal Bando played for them for 11 years, and then he went on to play for the Brewers for 5 more. And Sal Bando, uh, let's see, he was a 4-time All-Star, 11 years with the Kansas City and Oakland A's. When he got there, it was 67. So he played 67 and 68 with the Kansas City A's. And then he went ahead and played with the Oakland A's. And he played 11 years with them and all the way up to 76. And then he finished his last 5 years with the Brewers. After his playing days, he was the general manager of the Brewers team. And he sort of got the team together for that nice run they had in the early 80s. So he was a big part of that. And Sal Bando was the captain of that Oakland A's team. And I'm going to go over some of the rosters. And this team was just so stacked, and he was the captain of the team. There was Dave Duncan, the Cardinal famous pitching coach, played for them and was a catcher. Bert Campaneris, an incredible shortstop. Sal Bando. Joe Rudy, a center fielder deluxe, great fielder. Reggie Jackson, a Hall of Famer, and everybody knows who Reggie Jackson is. Gene Tennis. George Hendricks was an outfielder. Dick Green, Catfish Hunter, another Hall of Famer. Kenny Holtzman, a famous Chicago Cub player. John Blue Moon Odom, Vida Blue, Raleigh Fingers, another Hall of Famer. So there's 3 Hall of Famers on those A's teams with Claudel Washington, Bill North, Ray Fosse, and Phil Gardner. And of all those superstar players, Sal was the captain of the team. And like I said, they won 3 World Series. He finished his career with 1,039 RBIs, and his son Chris Bando was a major leaguer too.
Oh,
So
I
we see
forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah, remember Chris Bando? We see a lot of father sons, or like the Bells, uh, 3 generations of base of major leaguers. But Sal's golden years was 72 to 74, and the captain of those Oakland A's teams, and he finished in the top 4 for MVP 3 times. And 1973 was his best year, and I could read all these stats, but 1973 he came in. He was again in the top 3 for the MVP that year. And anyway, Sal Bando, great player, and I just want to put a spotlight on him so the young fans can go out and see a video of him. I met him once at a card show, and he was very, very nice. And that's Cardinal news. I had a lot of news this week.
In Cub news, Jordan Holloway, we picked up a right-handed pitcher from the Marlins. And we've kind of been doing this all winter long, collecting these hard throwers who have control problems. And we've already discarded a few of them before they've even probably got a phone call from the team. So who knows? I know what we're trying to do. We're getting people that we hope we can get in the pitch lab, but there's only so much room on the 40-man roster that we can't keep them all. We have been shopping Nick Madrigal, and it appeared that we had a deal in place with Boston that has stalled. I don't know if it's completely fallen through, but Nick Madrigal really needs to go. There's a few rumblings that maybe the White Sox would want him back, but nothing against Nick personally, but there's just no room for him on this team as it is constructed. Kyle Hendricks news. People are wondering, is Kyle Hendricks going to be on the opening day roster? And Kyle Hendricks is still not throwing off the mound. It's almost February. He's not throwing off the mound. No, he's not going to be on the opening day roster. He has a shoulder injury, and they've elected not to do surgery. So rehab seems to be a little slow. I know he was doing some kind of a throwing program this winter to try to increase velocity. I don't know if that's been put on hold. I don't know how that falls into the not throwing off the mound part. Who knows? They're not always, forthcoming with the news when players are injured. Sometimes you have to just guess. But with the pitching, without Hendricks, what do we have? And this is one of the reasons why Cub fans are excited. The following players started games for the Cubs last year. Okay, with the exception of Tyone, who is going to be in the rotation, is probably our second or third guy. Marcus Stroman, Steele, Smiley, Wisniewski, Javier Assad, Adrian Sampson, Keegan Thompson. These are 7 players who started for the Cubs and pitched effectively when they started. That's one of the reasons why we have some optimism here. You also throw in there Caleb Killian, who threw 1 or 2 games as a starter, call up, did terrible, but he's one of our best pitching prospects. We got him in the Chris Bryant deal. We also have Ben Brown, who's probably going to see a little bit of time at the major league level, who apparently has tremendous stuff. We got him. Should we get him from the Phillies for the Dave Robertson deal? I think it was. But we've got a lot of starting pitching. So I'm not crying that Kyle Hendricks is not ready. Take your time. Get back to where you were. If your career is over, thank you for the memories. You got more out of an 89-mile-an-hour fastball than anybody since Greg Maddux. So I hope Kyle is able to come back. But from the point of view, as far as my optimism for the team, he's really not a factor in that. We are going to start our new segment. It's going to be a monthly segment called Down on the Farm. Yeah. And it is going to be hosted, or our guest will be the fruit of our loins. Okay. getting all biblical on you. JJ's son Brody is going to be joining us, and he's going to look at the rookie leagues for the St. Louis Cardinals. And my son Maxwell will be joining us, and he's going to tell us what the rookie leagues have in store for the Chicago Cubs. Welcome to our first installment of Down on the Farm, where we're going to take a monthly look at what's going on. During the season, we will actually go through what the clubs are doing, won-loss wise, players moving around, what players are making some noise. Right now, we don't have that. So what we're going to do for the next few months until the season starts, we're going to focus on different levels of minor league baseball. And today, Max is going to talk about the rookie leagues that the Cubs are involved with, and Brody is going to talk about the rookie leagues that the Cardinals are involved with. Go ahead, Max.
Awesome. So the Cubs play in 2 rookie leagues. They play in the Arizona Complex League, which runs from June to late August, and they also play in the Dominican Summer League, which kind of runs through the same time frame, maybe a little bit longer. For the Arizona Complex League, it's just 55 regular season games. They have 3 divisions, 1 wild card, 1 game semifinal with a best of 3 final for the playoffs. Well, the Cubs did not make the playoffs this year. Basically, this is where the ACLs, where they send players who are drafted kind of from the United States. They're not international free agents. Some college guys are going to skip the ACL altogether and just go right into like low A and high A ball. But a lot of high school players are going to start out in the ACL. As far as the Dominican Summer League, a lot of the international, free agent prospects, these guys are going to be like 16, 17, a lot of bonus babies. I know the Cubs signed this year. They have Dernichi Valdez, Ludwig Espinoza, and Angel Cepeda. And these guys are as raw as they get. These are basically high school, sophomore, freshmen, playing baseball for the first time professionally. And in the Dominican Summer League, you're going to get just absolutely crazy games. I know there's a game this year where the Cubs threw a no-hitter. I believe it was Cubs Red against the Pirates Black team. But they also got no-hit. Both teams threw no-hitters against each other, and the Cubs won off of Pirates committing 3 errors. So,
yay!
Yeah, it's an absolutely crazy league. I think the average walks per 9 for like a pitcher was about 5.7. So these guys don't have much command, which means it's really high on base percentage. But these guys are also really thin. They're not built out yet. They don't have any power, so it's a lot of high average, high on base, but really low slugging numbers. You'll go through a player's stats and see that they don't hit any home runs, in this Dominican Summer League at all. It's kind of it's a weirdly low offense, but also high offense environment because of that. As far as the Cubs go, they have their big Dominican complex. It's 55 acres, and is actually really cool. They provide education services, and it's like a full-on, it's basically a college campus down there. They have a dormitory, a professional chef who works there. And, these are basically kids, getting their first taste of pro ball. As far as their manager, there's 2 Dominican Summer League Cubs teams. One is managed by Enrique Wilson. One is managed by Carlos Ramirez. Most of these guys who are minor league managers, they really didn't cut it in, professional ball. I think Enrique Wilson might have touched Double A as a pitcher, but otherwise, they're kind of smaller names. You wouldn't know these guys really. For the ACL, they got some fun names on the team. Edgar Perez is their manager. Some recent ACL Cubs include a lot of their draft picks from recent years. Mason McGuire, Mark McGuire's son, is currently on the roster. Fun story, Trey Lang, who was drafted in 2012 and retired in 2015, he's attempting a comeback, and he's actually back on the ACL Cubs active roster after not pitching in 8 years. Let's see.
So he's like in his 30s and he's pitching against like recent high school grads.
Yep, he is 30 years old. But he's coming back. He touches 98 on his fastball, so, maybe he's got something there.
It's happened before.
Mm-hmm. It basically covers it for the two complexes. Really, in the Dominican Summer League, you're not going to know really any of the names, because these guys are super raw. The only players who you would kind of hear of are basically relatives of current Cubs prospects. Christopher Morel's brother currently plays for the ACL Cubs, and Christian Hernandez, who is pretty much a consensus top 100 prospect. His brother Alexis Hernandez is playing for the Dominican Summer League Cubs.
Neat. Brody, what do you got on the Cardinals?
So just like the Cubs, we also have two leagues for rookie ball. Ours mid-June to late August and early September. But the leagues are actually they don't charge any admission, or they don't even have concession stands there. But we got the FCL, the Rookie Florida Complex League, and out of Jupiter, Florida. This last season, we went 25 wins, 25 losses, and we were 7.5 games out of first place. We scored a total of 213 runs. We gave up 254 runs. That's managed by Roberto Espinoza. We have some promising pitchers coming up. We got O'Neill Palmenez. He only got 3 games to pitch, but he won all 3 of those with a 1.84 ERA and 5 saves, or 5 wins, excuse me. We have Victor Villeneuve, 5 wins, 1 loss with a 2.86 ERA and a save. We got Dio Guerrero, 2 wins, 1 loss with a 1.52 ERA. Coming over here, we got hitters. Sam De La Rosa, he's an 18-year-old third baseman, has a 263 batting average, total of 70 hits and 7 home runs. And we have Josh Binns, a 19-year-old outfielder who's 6'4", 220 pounds. He got a 220 batting average. So I'm really excited about these guys coming up. I'm hoping they can at least make a name for themselves. It ain't a major league level. This wouldn't be such a great batting average, but they're just still so young and so far away. For the Dominican Summer Leagues, our manager is Frey Pinchy. The team went 33-26 this last season, again 7.5 games out of first place, with a total of 357 runs scored and 314 runs given up. The season's from June 28th to September 18th. Some of the players that are there is Felix Treverns. He has a 327 batting average with 4 home runs coming out of this season. And we have he also has 471 on base percentage. So that's pretty good. We have 30 different pitchers, but only 7 pitchers threw more than 20 innings. Some of those pitchers are Austin Love, and who had 5 starts, and Dio Guerrero, who had a 33.6% strikeout ratio.
Well, let me ask you this. I know that some of the international free agents, like the ones that the Cubs had, they all got $1.5 million plus, I think, for signing bonuses.
Yeah.
Most of these players aren't getting that kind of money. Do you guys have any idea what kind of compensation they're getting?
I do not.
Very little. And I think it's widely agreed that minor leaguers should be paid more. A lot of the guys who don't get big draft bonuses, they end up working odd jobs, which is really difficult, obviously, if you're not from America or, just struggling to make ends meet. Some teams are better than others, and I'd like to think that the Cubs maybe pay their guys a bit more, help them out a bit more. I know they have when they go on the road, they bring a traveling weight room with them and provide meals and stuff. So hopefully things are getting better. But I know as of recent, there were pictures going around on social media of guys eating just like bread and cheese sandwiches and sleeping on the floor and stuff. So hopefully things have gotten better.
Now, the Dominican League, they have their own, like you said, their own schools, their own chefs. Yeah, because nutrition and educating these young men how things work. When I was 16 years old, I had no idea what to do with $1.5 million or $1.50. So they get all that kind of stuff at the Dominican League, and they could be there for a few years in rookie ball in the Dominican League because they're so young. In the Florida League and in the Arizona League, do they have housing at the complex? Because they're both these leagues are done at the spring training complexes of each respective team. They have housing there. Are they able to take advantage of all the amenities of the major league spring training stuff, like weight room and stuff like that?
Yeah, the Cubs use Sloan Park. I don't know if they necessarily live, super close to the ballpark, but I know that they're allowed to use the major league clubhouse once the players are out of spring training. So it's pretty nice there. I know a lot of guys go there for rehab stuff. Albert Alzolay, instead of rehabbing with the Iowa Cubs this year, he went to the ACL for a bit. I guess it really just depends on what your team has there. I know the Cubs, that's also where they run their prospect mini camps in the winter. So they just have a ton of resources there already.
Okay. And the great thing about this league, it's both of these all three, because Arizona and Florida are basically the same thing, just in two different locations, is these games are more like, they keep score, they keep the records, they have a playoff, so on and so forth, and they have a champion. But really, these are more akin to like scrimmages. Like whenever, I played basketball growing up, we would have scrimmages where we would play, each other, and they were competitive, but, the purpose wasn't to really outscore or win. The purpose was to work on different aspects of our game. And that's kind of how the rookie league is. It's competitive, yes, but they're more interested in the progression of each individual. Would that be a fair statement to make?
Yeah, I think so. They're obviously trying to win, but yeah, they're also, I think their main goal is just improving and getting better.
Okay. All right. Well, next month, we are going to look at Class A ball. There is low A and high A. And gentlemen, you're going to tell us the difference between each one of them. Okay.
You got it.
Brody, Max, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And we will see you in February.
Yep. Thank you.
Absolutely.
JJ and I are going to do a segment. These are our favorite 10, what we're calling marginal players. They weren't starters, they weren't stars, but for some reason, we enjoyed them. And I'm going to kind of go in chronological order, starting from my first marginal player that I kind of fell in love with as a kid up until modern day. And my first player that I want to talk about was an outfielder who played for the Cubs from 1976 to 1980. Played outfield, the corner outfield spots, and he played first base, and his name was Larry Bittner. You're saying, who's Larry Bittner? Exactly. He was a marginal player. But I loved Larry because he stayed with the team for 5 years, and he was never anything but the fourth or fifth outfielder or a pinch hitter. In his time with the Cubs, which included 5 seasons, he hit a very respectable 273. He had a 691 OPS, which tells you that he didn't hit with much power at all. In fact, in his 5 years with the Cubs, he had a total of 20 home runs. That's not great. These days, you wouldn't have your fourth outfielder be someone who had no power. Back then, it was, it was done that way. He was a contact hitter. He did strike out a few more times than he walked, but it mostly was 50-50. So he put the bat on the ball and he gave it everything he had. And I remember one game, I think it was 77. The Cubs had a great first half. They were either in first or fighting Philadelphia for first place at that time. Then we collapsed in the second half, finished like 500. But anyway, Herman Franks was our manager, and he had Bittner out left field, and he went for a ball, made a fantastic catch, and just smacked into the wall, and injured his shoulder and was out for a while. But that stuck with me. At that point, I thought, man, this guy will run to a wall. And it wasn't a situation where, a player who now runs towards the wall, they'll slow down, they'll put the arm out, they'll slow down. No, he just boom right into the wall. So I kind of like that. So that's my first player, Larry Bittner, who finished his Cub career with a -1 WAR. Sorry, Larry. But anyway, I loved him.
Well, I'm not going in chronological order. I'm just going by my favorite, 10 down to 1. And for this, I have special effects. Check this out, Vince. And it's in 3D. Oh, yeah, look at that. Get your 3D glasses on, ladies and gentlemen, because we got some 3D effects happening here. My number 10, and a lot of people say, well, he's not a marginal player. This is a great player. But he's not a starter, and we really don't know what we have yet. But my number 10 is Brendan Donovan. And he's on the Cardinals now. He's only played 1 year. And he's age 25, and he could be something great. And he's got those great locks. When he runs, he's got those hair flowing like Bader did. The ladies like him. And right now he's a super utility guy. He won the first Gold Glove for a utility player. He moves around. He does whatever the team needs. And it looks like this year he's going to have a position at second base. I know he's going to be sharing that with Nolan Gorman, but this kid looks like he could be special. And with the shift gone, you're going to need a more athletic players on the infield before you could just set him right where you wanted him. Now he's going to have to move around a little bit. A lot of teams inquired about him over the winter, and the Cardinals, he was one of the guys they refused to trade. I hope we're right on him. I'm going to throw some stats at you. Even though this was his first year, he played 126 games. He played a lot of different positions. He had 391 at bats, and he walked 60 times and only struck out 70. That's incredible this day and age. His batting average was 281, but his on-base percentage was 773, and he played second, third, first, right, left, and he DH'd this year. And like I said, he was a Gold Glover, and I have so many good memories of him. He just takes good at bats. I thought Tommy Edman might be the leadoff guy, but I've heard a lot of things on the radio that he may be the leadoff guy, leading off everything because he's on base, and he takes great at bats, sees a lot of pitches, and that's what you want out of a leadoff batter. And Tommy Edman might be like maybe ninth and come around, and it'll be him and Donovan one in the next time around when the batting order comes back through. So anyway, I know a lot of people think, well, you're talking about marginal player. This guy's incredible. He's only had 1 year, so calm down. We've seen a lot of one-time guys come through, and they're just good players. But we could be onto something great with Brendan Donovan. So he's my number 10.
Well, my second player also played a spell for the Cardinals. In fact, 1 year, it was a year that Simmons only hit like 5 home runs. This player actually led the Cardinals in home runs. They were a terrible team. Hector, also known as Hector Cruz, one of the Cruz brothers. Oh, yes. He played for the Cubs in 1978, and then he played again from 81 to 82. He played left field terribly, but his left he made up for by playing third base horribly. He was just not a glove person at all. But when he played for the Cubs, he only had a 230 batting average, 731 OPS, which is pretty good for, a marginal utility player. He had 9 home runs in his 2 stints with the Cubs and had a negative .1 WAR. But the reason I love Hector Cruz is in '81, the strike season. He had 109 official at bats. I think he had like 120 plate appearances. So he had 109 official at bats, and he hit 7 home runs that year. So he was hitting home runs at a pretty good clip when he played. And for some reason, every time I turned on a game, he hit a home run. It seemed like, you know, I couldn't believe he only hit 7 home runs. It seemed to me like he had 50 that year. And that's why I loved him, because he had that magic. It seemed like when I would turn on a game during that 1981 season, Cruz would hit a home run. It seemed like it was like awesome, Hector Cruz, So he's my second marginal player that I really loved as a Cub fan.
All right, number 9. And how you make my list is sometimes it's a big body of work, and sometimes it's just one moment that cements you in the memory of Cardinal fans, or my mind anyway. And my player is Tom Lawless. I don't know if you remember Tom Lawless, but Tom Lawless only played 8 years, and he played 4 years with the Cardinals, 85, 86, 87, 88. And those were great years. We went to 2 World Series there. He played third, second, right field, and first base, and he only had 2 career home runs. And that's, so he wasn't known for a bomb or anything, but one of his home runs was in Game 4 of the 1987 World Series. And the only reason he's playing, well, I won't say that, but he's playing because Jack Clark got hurt in like August, and he had 35 home runs in mid-August. He was having a great year, and he goes down. That happens to the Cardinals a lot. We have a lot of injuries sometimes in these years where it looks like we're rolling. So Lawless is in the game. It's the bottom of the 4th. It's Game 4. We got 2 men on. He kills one. He starts walking, then he starts strutting, and he had this bat flip that may go down as one of the top 10 bat flips of all time. He threw that thing like he knew it was going out. So so as they're scanning over to catch the ball, it barely went out. It just barely went in the front row. And I remember like, what the heck? That guy was out there strutting around having a good time. And if that ball went off the wall, it would have been probably the most embarrassing single I ever seen in a World Series. But thank God it went over the wall. And when they do like a montage of Cardinal history, you see Slaughter on the mad dash. You see Gibson staring in and throwing a fastball past somebody. You see Arabowski and Bruce Sutter. And then you see Tom Lawless throwing that bat up in the air. So he's number 9 on my marginal player list right there.
Well, my next player was one of my favorite players whenever I was in junior high. 4th outfielder, and his name was Scott Thompson, SCOT. I've never known a Scott that did not have 2 T's in his name. And he played for the Cubs from 1970 through 1983. He played all 3 outfield positions in first base. And in '79, the year that he got enough at bats to be an official rookie, he did finish 3rd in the Rookie of the Year voting. So he had a very solid rookie season. For his Cub career, he hit .255 at a .631 OPS. So as you can see, there was not a lot of power. In fact, in 78 through 83 with the Cubs, he hit 4 home runs, and he had a negative 2.2 WAR. But I love Scott Thompson. He is a left-hander. He was a contact hitter, and like I said earlier, you're just not going to find outfielders / first basemen who don't have pop these days. But it was a different game back then, and contact hitters were valued. And one of the things that I remembered is Scott Thompson used a very small bat. It almost looked like he was using an American Legion bat playing Major League Baseball. But being he had a small, light bat, I think it was only like 28 ounces, he made a lot of contact. So he hit into a lot of double plays because he didn't have a whole lot of speed. But, man, if you had a guy, second, third, or if you, needed to move the runner from first to second, he could hit behind the runner. Just an excellent contact hitter. Scott Thompson, you were in my heart forever.
Well, my third guy, again, it's one of those moments in history. Without this play, he might have went through and a lot of people would have forgotten about him, but this play made him immortal. I'm talking about Glenn Brummer, the backup catcher for the Cardinals in the mid-'80s. And see, Vince is such a fan. I could just name a guy and he knows exactly where I'm going
yeah.
with this. And most fans do too. He only had a 5-year career. Who am I to say? I would love to have a 5-year career in the big leagues, but compared to some of these other guys, 5 years, 4 years were with the Cardinals, 81 through 84 seasons. But the moment that everybody remembers, and it was so shocking at the time. It was August 22nd, 1982. It doesn't seem that long ago, man. We're getting old. But it was August 22nd, 1982, in the bottom of the 12th inning against the Giants team. And basically, it was a walk-off, but it was a walk-off steal of home. I remember even caught Mike Shannon on the radio by surprise. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Glenn Brummer, very easily the slowest guy on the team, just took off. He surprised everybody. But here was the thing. There was 2 strikes on the batter. I think it freaked everybody out. And the catcher kind of moved out of the way, obscuring the umpire, because it could have been strike 3, and Brummer scores. Whitey Herzog didn't even know he was going. I've met Glenn Brummer at some card shows, and let me tell you, I love him even more now. He's very personable. He's funny. He's self-deprecating. He's a good guy. He'll sign anything you bring up to him. But the story behind that was his wife was in town and she had a flight, and she said, hey, in the stand, she looked at him and said, I got a flight. And he said, 1 minute, and he just took off and scored the run. So he came to the airport. That's the story he's telling. So Glenn Brummer, what a memory. I'll never forget it. Sometime when we do a memorabilia thing, I'll bring out all my Glenn Brummer stuff. But, oh, man, what a guy. Hilarious. And he played a big part for the Cardinals. And for that one day, he was king of the mountain right there, Glenn Brummer.
Yeah, that World Series season, that was kind of the highlight of it.
Oh, yeah.
It was, you had all the speedsters and, the really good pitching, and
Brewster coming in
you
out of the
go
bullpen.
home and just felt like, okay, this is magical.
It's a magic year.
My next player pitched for the Cubs from 83 through 85. We got him from the Phillies. Warren Brewster, which he has a great name, Warren Brewster. In his 3 years with the Cubs, he had an 8-5 record. He saved 8 games, had a 3.86 ERA, and he had a 1.8 WAR. Now, those statistics are a little obscured because in 1985, he had a 6.05 ERA. And that's not just with like 14 innings pitched. He pitched a whole season with a 6.05 ERA. He didn't have it. I don't know if he was hurt or what. But in 85, our pitching staff was decimated. So anybody who could throw a baseball was going to get some pitching time. So any other year, he probably would have been optioned or something. But we had to keep him on the staff because we just ran out of arms that could, play in the big leagues. So his first 2 years with the Cubs, he had a sub-3 ERA, and he was really good, like 6th, 7th, 8th inning guy. He would sometimes do the setting up, but they would bring him in as early as the 6th inning in leverage situations. And what I loved about Warren is he threw without fear. I mean, here's the ball, I'm throwing it, hit it. Let's see who's going to win this. So Warren Brewster, 83 through 85, special marginal player in my heart.
Very good. I remember him with the Philadelphia Phillies too. He was on that World Series team in 1980.
Yes.
Had he had the permanent or something like that. I remember that.
He had the perm. And he had a really good year for the 84 Cubs, who went to the playoffs, and we don't want to talk about that, but
no, that's all right. Yeah, a great play. I forgot about him. Well, my next player for the Cardinals is, I guess it would be number 4 here, Rex, the Wonder Dog Hudler.
Oh, yeah.
I love Rex Hudler. By the way, I did not know this. I did a little research on him. He was the first-round draft choice of the New York Yankees and had a 13-year career, and he played 3 years with the Cardinals, 90, 91, 92. Now, those weren't big years in Cardinal history. Those were the Joe Torre years, and Joe did a great job, but that's when Augie passed and the Bush kids owned the team, and it just didn't seem like they had much interest in the team at the time. So, but Rex was here, and he was one of the bright spots. He was in high school. He was a great athlete. He played soccer, baseball, and football, and he was an All-American wide receiver in high school. So he was quite the athlete. He wanted to go to Notre Dame, And when he was going to get drafted by the Yankees, #1, and get paid, he went ahead and went to the minors. That's kind of how he went to baseball instead of playing football. But he was a highly charged, motivated player who gave his all, and the fans loved it for it. He'd hustle out there. I remember there's just odd stories about Rex where he was so intense. In St. Louis, we have a lot of June bugs in the summer. And one time there was a June bug on his bill, and Tom Pagnozzi said, "I'll give you $800 if you eat that June bug." And of course, Rex Hudler ate the June bug. So he was known as the bug eater on the team. One time, I think it was in Philadelphia, he got so excited, he jumped up, hit the ceiling in the dugout, knocked himself out. He was just a wild man. And in San Diego in the summer, when the Marines, that's where the Marines go to boot camp, when they graduate, they always have the Marines up there at the top of the stadium. And Rex would run out there and salute them, and they'd all salute him back, and he'd give them thumbs up. Just a great guy. And he's now the voice of the Kansas City Royals. And if you ever get a chance, listen to Rex do the games. You can't help but become a baseball fan with just the passion, enthusiasm he calls a game. So I'm glad Rex Hudler is still out there calling the game. We need guys like Rex a part of the game, and I love Rex Hudler. That's my fourth guy.
Yeah, Rex is a great guy.
Great guy.
Good call. Good call. My next Cub player, we are staying with middle relief pitchers. Pitched for the Cubs from 87 through 91, Les Lancaster. And his name is Lancaster, not Landcaster, because Harry Carey always called him Les Lancasters and Lancaster. For the Cubs in his 4 years with the Cubs, he had a 34-23 record, a 3.82 ERA. He started 38 games. He saved 22 games. And in his time for the Cubs as a marginal player, he had an 8.3 WAR with the Cubs. So he had a pretty good career with the Cubs. 1987, he did finish 6th in the Rookie of the Year voting. But what I most remember Les for him, and why I love Les, is in 89, we went to the playoffs for the first time since 84. And the problem, I couldn't enjoy this team as much as I should have been able to, is because I moved to Kansas City in 88. And where I lived, we did not have cable television. So I could not watch a Cub game. So I was actually doing the old-fashioned thing of going through the papers. I would see them on Game of the Week sometime, but the only games I saw consistently were Kansas City Royal games at that time. But in 89, we went to the playoffs, and our closer was the infamous Mitch Williams, who I think he struck out 67 that year, but walked 50. But Les set up for Mitch, and Les was really the unsung MVP of that bullpen. In 1989, he had a 1.36 ERA setting up for Mitch Williams. So a fantastic year. He gave up a bad hit in the playoffs against the Giants when he had the there was one out. He thought there was 2 outs and he didn't have to throw. And I think Will Clark was the hitter, and he should have walked him and pitched to the next, but he didn't. But I forgive you, Les. But anyway, that's my next relief for Les Lancaster.
Well, my next one, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat on this because it's a new player. And the reason I have him on there is he's not a starter, but he's loved. And I think the Cardinals, as fans, we love the highly charged guys that have a sense of humor and bring a lot of intensity to the team. And like last year, we had a lot of veterans, but we had a lot of young guys too. And this guy, Lars Nootbaar, he's only played 2 years with the Cardinals, but I'm telling you what, the older players just love him. He has such enthusiasm for the game. He's only 24 years old, and he's played in 2021 and 2022. And I'm telling you what, I've seen him make some plays, like robbing a home run, and he'll turn around and look like he just won the Academy Award or something. He's so excited, and everybody run over, and he's the first one out of the dugout. He's high-fiving everybody, and he started that whole thing with the pepper grinder. He even had an autographed pepper grinder in there. He'd get it on people's heads. You need guys like that. It's 162 games. I know you got to get serious at times, but it's good to have a little comedy, a little laugh every once in a while, because it is a long grind during the year. the Cards there was a lot of interest in Lars. And the Cardinals, again, did not trade. And we have a lot of young players that a lot of teams had questions about. And looking back, some of the guys that we didn't make moves on, we're so glad we didn't now. I know there was talk of the Cardinals and Clevenger, and thank God we didn't do that now. And then there was a pitcher. Yes, I know. That just came out this week, too. And
Yeah.
Oakland had a pitcher. He's already hurt this year too. Manoah, I believe it is. But there was a
Yeah.
lot of talk where the Cardinals were going to make a move, and Newbar was one of the guys in the trade, and we didn't do it. And thank goodness. Now, of course, most fans, they only remember the guys that become we never hear the end of Sandy Alcantara. We should have never got rid of him. But at the time, nobody was really complaining. But Lars is here. We believe in him. And I know the MLB had the top 10 right fielders. And of course, Lars hasn't played enough to really be considered in that. But the fan vote, I don't know if the Cardinals fans just showed up. He was like sixth best right fielder. Pump the brakes there. I love Lars Newbar, but he is not in the top 10 right fielders right now. I sure hope he is one day. And it looks like he's going to get a shot to play. And if Jordan Walker makes the team, he's going to be the fourth outfielder. But of course, with O'Neill's health history and Dylan Carlson, he's going to get a lot of playing time. So right now, he's either going to be right field or our fourth outfielder. So I'm excited about him. And anyway, so that's my next player right there.
I'm going to take a giant leap in history because Les Lancaster finished his Cub career in 1991. And my next player, marginal player that just struck my fancy, did not start playing for the Cubs until 2008. He played outfield for the Cubs 2008 through 2009 and then came back for 2011, 2012. 2008, we made the playoffs after that. Yeah, it was some lean years for this guy. Played all three outfield positions. Reed Johnson, one of my all-time favorite Cubs, always showed up to the park and was always ready to play, brought a lot of enthusiasm. In his time with the Cubs, he hit 296, had a 786 OPS. He hit 18 home runs and a 3.6 WAR. He was very good defensively. If you started him, he was going to give you 4 quality at bats. If you needed to bring him off the bench, he was going to be ready to pinch hit. And he was just there at a time when there wasn't a whole lot to scream about, because that's about the time when things fell apart and we couldn't put them back together till 2015. But Reed Johnson, he provided some veteran leadership, showed us how to play the game, and he is one of my favorite marginal Cub players in history.
Very good. Well, number 6 for me. And this guy, he only played 2 years with the Cardinals. He was a 12-year career, but Scott Spezio. And Scott was a winner. He had won in 2002 with the Angels when they beat the Giants. The one chance Bonds had at winning the World Series, and the Angels kind of snatched it away from him. That made me feel so good. But the Angels 2002, and in 2000, he played with the Cardinals in 06 and 07. And of course, the Cardinals, the big underdogs. But we beat the Tigers in the World Series that year when no Tiger pitcher could field a bunt for some reason, and we ended up winning the World Series that year. But he played 2 years with the Cardinals, 06, 07. He played third base, first base, second base, right field, and left field, all the corners there. Good player. And the thing I remember about Scott Spezio is he had a little goatee, and he dyed it red for the Cardinals. And there was games I would go to, and even the women in the crowd would have a little, I don't know, piece of carpet or something on there, and they'd all have these little goatees. Everybody in the crowd, even the kids, had these little goatees. And so for a time, he was a very popular player. I know he had some run-ins with drugs, let's be honest, but he's cleaned himself up, and now I think he's living a clean, sober life, and I'm happy for him. But he was a big player for us. He'd fill in, and you got to have these utility guys on your team because it's a long year. People have just day-to-day injuries, need a break. And then you got a Scott Spezio can come in and fill in anywhere. A big piece of the puzzle winning that 06 series.
My wife and I started dating in 2007. And somewhere she's got a picture, this is before we started dating, of her, my stepdaughter Rebecca, her mother, and her grandmother, all with the red stingers right there.
All right. I like her.
I screwed up. I jumped ahead with Reed Johnson.
Okay.
Because this guy, he played for us in 2005, and then from 2007 to 2009 played for us. And I'm so sorry, Mr. Mike Fontenot, that I skipped over you, because I love Mike Fontenot. He played the middle infield and played some third base, and he was just like, and he's just a baseball player. He hit 269. He had a 754 OPS. He had 22 home runs in his time with the Cubs. Had a 3.7 WAR, and you could play him in either the three positions, and he would give you, dependable defense. He had some pop, but Fontenot seemed to be the kind of player who'd rise to the occasion. Kind of the bigger the stage, and this is the time when, we had a good team in 07 and 08, but sometimes, it would be like Mike Fontenot getting the big hit, and because he was kind of an overlooked player on those playoff teams of 07 and 08, but he came through so much. I really like Mike Fontenot, so he makes my list of one of my favorite marginal Cubs.
Well, my number 7, this guy, I think he was more popular with the players when he played, but now he's become, a folklore. Gosh, I can't say the word. Anyway, he's a legendary player now, but it's the Arkansas in me. There's certain words I can't say, but I love this guy, Bob Uecker, backup catcher. I love Bob Uecker.
That's brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, Bob, a 7-year career, 2 with the Cardinals in 64 and 65. I have both cards of his Cardinal career. And even when he's trying to just smile and look like a normal player, you can tell there's something going on. He's got some kind of plans. There's always, he only played 93 games, had 54 hits and 3 home runs, but his 3 home runs, he hit home runs off of Sandy Koufax, Fergie Jenkins, all the big guys. He hit home runs off of. And to this day, they just shake their heads and say, I can't believe Uecker hit a home run off me. And that's like his big claim to fame. He only hit 215. And he would make fun of himself, but he was one of those guys they loved. And in the 64 World Series against the Yankees, which I covered that one time as one of those pivotal years for the Cardinals, when we came back and beat the Phillies, and then we had to play the great dynasty of the Yankees. He kind of, I believe it was game 1, they had a Dixieland jazz band out there, and one of the famous stories is he grabbed the tuba and was shagging fly balls in the tuba. And he spent most of his World Series bonus had to buy a new tuba. But the Yankees were laughing, the Cardinals were laughing, and it was like such intense time, and it just kind of brought everything down and it relaxed everybody. And Bob was a good guy. I think before they had video and everything, one time I think we won to get to the World Series, and he had taken all his clothes off and was dancing in the clubhouse, and nobody could take any pictures or anything. They had to get the clothes on Bob. Bob was a great player, a fun guy, and after his career, I know they tried to make him a scout in Milwaukee, and that didn't work out. He was just doing his own thing, and finally they made him announcer, and he's in the Hall of Fame for being an announcer. So that's another player that was in the Hall of Fame who was a Cardinal player in 64, but he did not get it as a player. He got it as announcer, went on to become a TV star, a movie star. He was on the Johnny Carson show a ton of times. And anyway, Bob Uecker, I just love that guy. I remember one time the Cardinals, I believe Buck and Shannon and Uecker were in the dugout talking during a rain delay, and that was just a treat. I never wanted the rain to stop. It was like 2 hours of just telling stories. It wasn't all funny stories, just the old days in baseball, and it was a great segment. So Bob Uecker's my player right there.
Okay. My next player is Matt Scherzer. That is spelled SZCZUR. And the reason why I am spelling the name is because I got a homework assignment for you. SZCZUR, pronounced Scherzer. He played from 2014 through 2017, so he was a member of that World Series championship team. He played all three outfield positions, and he also DH'd a few times. And in his Cub career, he hit 243, 665 OPS, 8 home runs, 0.7 WAR, which is, marginal player on a great team. The reason why I spelt the name is you need to Google him and see his artwork. He is a tremendous artist. He does a lot of baseball related art, and I'm not talking about stuff that you would buy in a dime store. I'm talking he does high dollar artwork, and a lot of it's baseball themed. And I kind of like, players who have outside interests.
Oh yeah.
And there's not too many players who branch out into the world of art that can do it successfully. He has been very successful as an artist. He was successful while he was playing because people would commission him, players would commission him to do a painting of them. And now he's just parlayed that into his retirement, and he's done fantastic as an artist. So that makes him near and dear to me. So Matt Scherzer is my 8th marginal player.
Thank you, Vince. Every time we do a segment, I learn a thing or two, and that's my thing tonight. I hadn't even heard of that guy before, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna look him up. Well, this one here is my oldest marginal player, who I think I'm glad we did it for this reason alone. This guy right here, he's we're down to what, number 8 now. It's a guy named Pat Crawford, and he played third base or second base and first base, and he only played 5 years, and he played 2 years with the St. Louis Cardinals. But the years he played was 1933 and 1934. And 1934 is the Gas House Gang. All the guys on the Gas House Gang most of them had nicknames, and he was known as Captain Pat. Now, Captain Pat was the utility man on the Gas House Gang, and he played infield. But listen to this infield. These are all like incredible players. He backed up Ripper Collins, Frankie Frisch, Leo DeRocher, and Pepper Martin. All incredible, hard-nosed players who just their uniforms would be filthy at the end of the games. And he came in and played his line share of backing these guys up, and he had a 280 average. And I know if you're a good, a nice player, and you play on a team like the Gas House Gang, you're going to get pitches to hit because everybody in that lineup could hit the ball. And he ended up hitting 280. And like I said, he only played 5 years, and most people probably didn't even know the name. But the name's Pat Crawford, and he was known as Captain Pat, and that's number 8 on the list.
Well, my next player pitched for the Cubs in the 2015 team that went to the National League Championship Series and the World Series winner in 2016. This gentleman had a really hot start to his career with the Oakland Athletics. His second year, I think he won 18 games, lost 8. By the time the Cubs had picked him up, he was kind of looked at as maybe fading in his career. And his name is Mr. Trevor Cahill. In his 2 years with the Cubs, he was 5-4. He had a 2.61 ERA and a 1.4 WAR. When we picked him up, it looked like, okay, this is a dying player, a dead player, but no one's bothered to bury him yet. Why do we have him? In 2015, due to injuries, we had to, I think we had what was his name? Clayton Thompson, something like that. We picked up a few guys from the scrap heap, and Cahill was one. And what I loved about him, I'd seen him pitch before, but I'd never really studied him as a player. He just had the give me the ball mentality. I don't care what situation is, I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to go. And he pitched really good for the Cubs. They used him almost exclusively out of the bullpen, but once in 2000, I think it was the 2015 season, we were down to nobody. It was going to be a bullpen game. They said, hey, you're going to be the opener today. And so, because some teams use openers now, you pitch the first inning, and he even did that. But I love Trevor Cahill. He is one of those unsung heroes of those 2 really good teams. Came over here, kind of revived his career, got a few more years out of his baseball career. Trevor Cahill, my number 9.
All right. Well, my number 9, and I'm glad we're doing this too, was a player named Phil Gagliano. and he was a utility guy, and he had a 12-season career. 8 of them was with the Cardinals. He played 1 year with the Chicago Cubs. So he had a 12-year career, 8 with the Cardinals. He played 1963 to 1970 with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he played every position but catcher, pitcher, and center fielder. So what I liked about this guy is you didn't lose much in the field, and we had some great players in the 60s. The Cardinals went to 3 World Series. So he went to 3 World Series and won 2 of them. And one of the reasons was this great utility player, Phil Gagliano. He would play anywhere, great at pulling the double play. And back then, the runners could try to take out the shortstop or the second baseman, the pivot guy on the double play. So you had to be tough, had to have that inner clock and knowing how long you can stay there until that you were about to get run over. A good bat and a solid fielder, and he made those teams even better. And the guys he was backing up is like a who's who: Bill White, Roger Maris, Julian Javier, Dick Grote, Kenny Boyer, Lou Brock, and Mike Shannon were some of the players in those years that he was backing up. And he's passed on now. To me, the 1960s, as far as history, doesn't seem terribly long ago, but we are losing a lot of, I know, God, I'm old, but we're losing a lot of those players, and it's kind of sad, but I go through the cards every once in a while and look, and I've got about every single St. Louis Cardinal card he had. So anyway, that's my number 9 right there.
Well, my final player pitched for the Cubs in 2020, 2021, half the season for both those years. And I hope he comes back. There's rumors that he is, and it's Andrew Chafin. In his time with the Cubs, he was 0-3 with a 2.13 ERA. He had a save in his what amounted to 2 half seasons, 1 full season with the Cubs. He had a 1.5 WAR, which is really good, in only 47 appearances. What I love about Andrew Chafin is, I mentioned this last week, he's just not a baseball fan. He'll tell you, I played the game because I was good at it, but when the game was over, I didn't care. I wasn't going to watch the game of the week or see what was on ESPN. I was working on my cars. And he's a real gearhead. He's got this muscle car, and I can't remember what the muscle car is, but he kind of became like a folk legend in his time with the Cubs because he would keep up on social media that he was rebuilding this car, and the fans were really into it. And when we got rid of him at during the pennant stretch last year, oh gosh, man, why'd we get rid of Chafin? He's a lot of fun to have around here. But there is some, he pitched for Detroit last year, did pretty good. There are some rumors that we'll be getting Andrew back possibly, that we could strike a deal and he could be in our bullpen this year. So Andrew Chafin, left-hander, which we really need. I really enjoyed you in your time with Chicago, and I hope to see you back. That's my list.
All right. I'm getting the special effects out again. Let's go ahead. See, we spend all of our money on these special effects here at our podcast.
Okay. Can I take a stab at who it is?
Please.
Is it Roger Freed?
No, it's not.
Oh, you didn't have Roger Freed on your list.
No, I did not. He was honorable mentions. Roger Freed is honorable mentions. And I love Roger Freed because, let's be honest, I know if you can't tell, I'm a heavyset guy, and I always pull for all the heavyset players. And Roger Freed, Jack Buck said if he was 2 inches taller, he'd be perfectly round. At an old timers game, he said that. So I always pull for Fernando Valenzuela, the Russell brothers out there in Chicago. I like the big guys, Yeah, Michael LaValliere, all the big guys out there. It seems like after the steroids disappeared, we got a lot more bigger guys in the league right now. Who's that? Vogelbach? Yeah.
Daniel Vogelbach.
Yeah, Vogelbach. Get in there. Take your swings, Vogelbach. My number 1, just because I love him. All my friends love this guy. Jose Oquendo, the secret weapon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's not really fair because he was a very good player, but he was mainly a backup. He played 10 years with the Cardinals, but 4 of them was as a starter, and he was a second baseman while Ozzie Smith was at shortstop. He was a starter from 88 to 91 at second base or shortstop. and 10 years as he just was a backup player. And he's one of those rare guys that has played every position. There's not a whole lot of them out there, but he has played every position. And one year we weren't doing too good, and Tony Pena was catching, and Whitey took Tony out and put Oquendo back there. And I remember him telling the batter, I believe it was the Philadelphia Phillies, just don't foul the ball off. Just don't foul the ball off. I don't feel like getting hit. And that was in 1988. He got to play all the positions. And one time in an emergency start, we had a 19-inning game with the Atlanta Braves, and he pitched 4 innings and had 3 shutout innings.
I remember that.
You remember that? And then they got a double and ended up scoring a couple of runs and beating us in the 19th inning. And he took the loss.
His fastball, which wasn't fast, but it did have some tailing action to it.
Oh, those guys aren't used to hitting stuff like that. That's like
you know,
or something.
70 mile an hour fastball with a little tail to it. They were having trouble with it.
And they're all trying to kill it too. They're all trying to kill it. And I know a lot of the traditionists don't like when a position player comes in and pitches, but sometimes in a long season, you got to make do with what you got. And he went in there, he did throw 3 shutout innings. And here's his pitching line. In his career, he had 3 appearances. He was 0-1 through 6 innings and has an ERA of 12. But that is better than Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina's ERAs, who pitched last year. So Jose Oquendo, and he played in 1 World Series. When he with us, he got to play in 1 World Series. So I love Oquendo, and he's been with the Cardinals ever since 1985, and now he's down in the minors, and he's kind of took the spot of George Kistler and Dave Ricketts, where he works with the players. He just kind of a roving instructor that goes to all the different minor leagues, works with these guys, and a lot of them who come up and are utility guys and make themselves very valuable, have a nice major league career. They usually always thank Jose Oquendo these days for working with them in the minor leagues. So he's still a big part of the Cardinal system, even though we don't see him around the ballpark anymore. So Jose Oquendo.
Lives in DeSoto, Missouri, too.
DeSoto, yeah.
Right down the road from me. Now, you mentioned something that sparked my memory, or this sparked a terrible memory for me. You mentioned that when he caught, he said, just don't foul the ball off. I had a question. Have you ever caught in Little League?
Oh, yeah.
I was one year the emergency catcher for my team. How did I become the emergency catcher? Because once during practice, I just kind of made a joke to the coach, I'd like to put on the catcher's equipment, see what it's like. He said, well, put it on and catch. Every time someone swung, I dropped the ball. I mean, it was very flinchy. But we had a game, I don't know, maybe it was about 12, 13 years old. We had a game, and we had 2 catchers, and it was like 2 minutes before game time, and neither of them had showed up. And the coach said, put on the gear. And I thought,
oh, no.
Oh, shit. I'm scared to death. Fortunately, one of them showed up right in the nick of time. And I mean, I couldn't get the gear off fast enough. Here, take it. So that's some scary stuff. 2 things I would never be. 3 things. I would never be a catcher for baseball. You just get beat up. I would never be a center for football because you're just going to get beat up. And when it comes to hockey, I would never be a goalie in hockey and try to stop that crap coming at me. So, yeah, very, very dangerous to be a catcher. And I don't have fond memories of that time I did it in batting practice and almost had to do it in a game.
Well, I was a catcher, and I wasn't fast enough to be an outfielder and cover all that ground. I could be a good third baseman, but I tell you what, I'd rather be a catcher. It's like being a goalie. You're stopping balls in the dirt, and you're chasing foul balls down. I did get run over a couple of times. I stood in front, what I thought was in front of the plate, and a guy ran me over coming in. But I absolutely loved it. Made you feel like a big leaguer, putting the chest protector and the shin guards on, and the mask and everything. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It just scared me. So. JJ, what are you opening?
Oh, yes. It's that time of the day already. I bought a whole box of these 2019s with the with the Babe Ruth and Aaron Judge. So I have about 7 of these packs I got in that box. So for the next few weeks, you guys are getting 2019s, which is pretty
Okay.
cool. I like that. A lot of these players are still in the league.
Well, I'm doing the 2022 Topps Archives baseball, so I
Oh,
love
I
these
love
cards.
those. I
So we're
absolutely,
both in the 21st century. Pretty cool.
heck yeah.
Wait a
I
minute.
tell you
Yeah.
what, the first one I got, I love this kid. Really impressed me in the World Series. Kyle Tucker from the Astros. There he is. It looks like he's turning around second base right there. I like that. In the back of the cards, these are some real nice cards, these 2019s. Very nice. Very nice. Colorado Rocky, Garrett Sampson. Don't know a thing about this kid, but that's a good looking card right there. Tell you what, the
He should
photography on
have
this card.
longer hair.
Yes.
I think there should be a law. If your name is Samson, you should have.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I like that. Oh, we mentioned this player. You know, we always mention somebody and they show up in the cards. And this kid's been on 2 teams since then, but this was 2019, Jesse Winker, and he had a very good year that year. Went to Seattle, and he's been traded again this year. I forgot what team he's on now, but he left Seattle. He's with another
He's
team
coming
now.
back to the National League.
Coming back to the National League.
Hey,
Um,
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who it is, but I can't remember. Well, back in 2019, they had like the team card, and it has the stadium on it, the Oakland Coliseum, which is the biggest baseball park in baseball right now. I've actually went to one game there. 1979, I saw the Oakland A's and Kansas City Royals play out there. Here's a Texas Ranger, a future star, Willie Calhoun.
Hey,
It's 2022, and I'm still not quite sure who Willie Calhoun is. So the future is not now. Oh, they have an old timers card. I love this guy. Al Kaline, youngest guy to win a batting title.
yeah.
Yeah. Let me back it up. There it is. Now it's in focus a little bit better there. Love that. That's very cool. Let's see. Oh, San Diego Padre, Kirby Yates, reliever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember San Diego had one of the top minor leagues about 2 years ago. Of course, they traded most of their players for Soto. But man, they got some good
Now
players.
the Nationals have one of the best minor leagues.
That's right. That's right. Here's a Milwaukee Brewer, Jonathan Scope, and
Yeah.
he was a Baltimore Oriole player at one time. So there he is.
Played for the Twins too. Yeah.
Kansas City Royal, Mondesi, the pitcher, Alberto Mondesi. Very nice. I like that dirty uniform. Yeah, if you're going to have a baseball card, dirty it up before you get your picture taken. This was a free agent this year, Michael Conforto.
Yeah.
A very, very good player. I believe he re-signed with the Mets. And an outfielder. Of course, I cannot say a lot of these names, so it's just the outfielder Herrera from the Phillies, right there. Very good card. I love those pictures. So that's my pack right there.
Okay, I'm going to start off with World Series pitcher Zach Wheeler.
Ooh, I like it. Very nice.
Awesome. The pride of St. Louis, Mr. Max Scherzer.
Yes. Terrific.
Yeah. I've seen this player. Tarek Skubal.
I don't know him.
I watched like two I try to watch at least one home game of every team every year, and I actually watched two Detroit games this year. So this guy sucks. Albert Pujols?
Who's that guy?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Never heard of him.
Oh, Josh Bell made some
Josh
money in
Bell.
free agency.
Yeah. He's with somebody else now, too. Is it the Marlins, maybe?
Yeah, no, is it the Marlins?
I don't know.
Is it the Orioles?
I can't tell you. I'm not sure. They move around so much now.
And this is October 10th, 2021. Vasquez leads the Red Sox.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
And oh, this is cool. On
Old
the back,
style.
it's got the Boston Globe, Christian Vasquez walks off.
Oh, I love that.
That's cool.
Very nice.
That is cool. Oh, gosh, wonder what happened to this guy. Mr. Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub.
Mr. Cub. Let's play 2.
Let's play 2. All right.
Yeah.
And for the Royals, MJ Melendez. And I do not know anything about Mr. Melendez.
I just saw their lineup for the new year, and he may be their leadoff guy. I went to 2 Royals games last year, and he was there. He's a good-looking young player. Good-looking young player.
You mean just like because he's extremely handsome?
Well, that and has a lot of baseball skills.
Okay. All right. Well, JJ, it's been great. And I do want to thank Brody and Max for coming on and giving us their reports. Very excited about that. Very informative information. And next week, we will be in February, which I think will be our 4th or 5th month. So we are climbing. And remember, leave comments, share, like, do all this stuff. We want to be on that list of the top 20 podcasts for Cardinal baseball. And I think if you're in Chicago, those of you who are in Chicago, man, spread the word out to all the Cubby people. Hey, man, there's this guy in St. Louis who has to hold up all of Cub Nation in the face of all this hostility. Give me some love, man. Give me some love.
It's going to happen. We're getting there slowly but surely.
All right. Well, JJ, you have a great week, and I will see you next week.
See you next week, Vince. Good night, everybody.